Hey guys, it's Urban here and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I am showing you off the brand new Swedish tanks that are going to be implemented in 9.17. I have already showed you the tank destroyer line, and now it is time to show you the tanks, or rather if specific, light tanks, medium tanks and heavy tanks. As before, there are similarities to these Swedish tanks, and they do have, as well as tanks, as well as tank destroyers, very good gun depressions. Now the STRV FN21, the stock one, has already 10 degrees of gun depression, which is fantastically good. But it is, I don't know how it actually is because I haven't played it. You can't play low tiers on test server because nobody plays them, so. Actually, if I'm correct, I haven't played any of those tanks. I only played tank destroyers, but I haven't played any of the tanks. So yeah, that's a bit of a bad thing there. But anyways, I already told you about the STRV FN21 in the previous video, so let's just move on to the STRV M38. This vehicle was developed on the basis of the L60 light tank by the Kranvagn company. During mass production, the vehicle underwent several modernizations. A total of 216 vehicles of different variants were produced from 1939 through 1944. The vehicle remained in active service until the 1960s in the Swedish Army. Yeah, until the 1960s this tank. That is a fantastically long time. Compared to in the 1960s, there were what, M60 tanks already? And this thing was still active? Yeah, whatever. So what does this tank have? Well, it has 170 hit points, shit armor all around, 13. So that's that done. The mobility is, that's pretty good, 45 kilometers an hour forward, 18 kilometers an hour backwards. Horsepower per ton is 17.5, 160 horsepower, and it has 9 tons, which is very light. I mean, it only has 13 millimeters of armor all around, so that's pretty interesting. And it has 228 view range. That's stock, so I don't know how good this thing is fully, because I didn't spend gold on low tier that people know play. I would have spent them on bigger tanks such as the tier 10s that I can play. So yeah. Let's get back to the STRV. Now the guns. Let's take a look at the guns. You have the two choices of guns. The first one is the stock 20mm that you have on the STRV FN21, but on the FN21 it is slightly worse. So yeah, this is a better version of the 20mm. It has 10 shells in the magazine, 0.3 seconds of time of loading shell, 5 seconds of loading. That is a lot. 31 millimeters of penetration, I think is the same as the Panzer 1C, and 14 average damage. That is pretty good. 0.48 dispersion, pretty bad, and 2 seconds of aiming time is pretty good. Then the upgrade is a 37 millimeter cannon, which has a fantastic rate of fire. 55 penetration, which is also fantastic for a tier 2, 40 damage, which is, it's a tier 2, we can't really argue with that. 0.42 dispersion, which is, for tier 2, it's, I don't know, but it's pretty shit if you compare it to other tanks. And 1.8 seconds of aiming time, which is really, really good. That's the tier 2, the STRV M40, I was showing you the FN21, damn it. Well, the tier 2, the STRV M40. Which is pretty much the same fucking tank. Really. Let's take a look at the history here. In 1940, the Swedish Army experienced an acute need for armored vehicles. One of the ways to solve the problem was modernization of the L60 tanks. The first 100 modernized vehicles received improved armor and a new automatic transmission. Modernization was performed by AB Landsverk. This is why these vehicles entered service named STRV M40L. Later vehicles that were manufactured at the factory in Karlstad were equipped with more powerful engines, improving suspension and armor. These vehicles were designed STRV M40K. Or designated, not designed. So yeah, so better armor. So let's take a look at the armor. 40-80 millimeters at the front. Gotta say it's not bad for a tier 3, and 13-13 at the rear. Not good. 230 hit points, which is the same as the Cruiser 4. I can accept that. And 15 millimeters of turret armor, and 20 at the side, and 35 at the rear. So frontally, a Panzer 1C should not be able to penetrate this thing. Should not be. Side and rear, yes, it's pretty shit. Side and rear. Well, actually, the rear of the turret has 35 millimeters of penetration armor. So yeah, only the side is a bit weak. So improved armor, it's not bad, but still has its weak spots. The mobility, 205 horsepower. Specific power is 20 horsepower per ton, and only weighs 1 ton more compared to how much more armor it has to the tier 2. 41 degrees of traverse speed, and that's with 75% crew, which is very, very good. 41 degrees, 45 kilometers an hour forward, 18 kilometers an hour backwards, which is the same as previously. And now the guns. And it's the 37mm on previous tank, which has a bit more rate of fire, better accuracy, and actually 0.1 worse aiming time. It's weird. And the upgraded 37mm cannon, and I gotta say, that is quite a decent amount of penetration. 78 millimeters of penetration for a tier 3. I believe this thing could deal with the rear or the side of a KV-1. But we shall see. So it has 30 rounds per minute. That's 2 seconds of reload. That is insanely fast. So yeah, better watch out for this tier 3 Swedish motherfucker, because it is very fast firing and it has pretty decent amount of penetration of 78. 40 average now, which is wow. 0.38 and 1.6 aiming time, which is very, very good. This gun is fantastic for a tier 3, I can see that. This thing is gonna do some good stuff, I can see it from now. Decent armor, great gun. I'm sorry about that, I had to delete some files because my recording program stopped again. And to get more space so I can record again. Right, as I was saying, great armor, great gun, good mobility. Well, not great armor, but it's mediocre armor. Now let's go on to the Lago, which is a fairly big tank. It's a medium tank. And, well, it, lost words there for a bit. Because my friend is texting me right now. Screw you. Anyway, so it has 34mm of all-round armor, which is pretty good. 34mm of frontal turret armor, 28 at the side and 20 at the rear. And 350 hit points, which is it's the same as the Panzer III. Armor is shit, that's for sure, but therefore. Okay, the mobility is 18.3 tons, which is not that much for a medium tank. 324 horsepower, 17.69 specific power, and the same top speed and the reverse speed as before of 45/18. Traverse speed is 36.14, which again is pretty good, but it's not the best. Okay, so that's that done. The spotting is wow, not the best. 300 meters. Now let's go on to the gun, as we always do. So we have pretty decent amount of guns here. You have 47mm as a stock one, and there you go. So let's talk to the stock. The 47mm has a very good rate of fire. Wow, for a tier 4 it's average penetration. It's not the best. It's like a Cruiser 4 if I'm honest. 60 damage, which is rather decent. 0.38 dispersion, which is not the best, and 2 seconds of aiming time, which is pretty good. Right, so that's the 47. The 75mm has 13.5 rate of fire, which is not very good. Well, that's going to be like 4 seconds of reload. Well, for a tier 4, let's just say for a tier 4 it's okay. Because if you compare it to Skoda T24, that thing has a very, very low amount of rate of fire. So yeah, 88 millimeters of penetration, pretty good, not bad. 110 damage, which is average for 75 millimeter. 0.4 dispersion, which is bad, and 2.7 aiming time, which is also bad. And then the people that usually want this gun is 22 with a 57 millimeter, 22.6 rate of fire, which is pretty good. 91 average penetration, which is very good. 75 average damage. That's average for 57. 0.38 dispersion, which is not the best, and 2.5 aiming time, which is pretty bad for a 67, if I'm honest. So yeah, the Lago, not the best tank. For those of you who are going to be playing it, it's going to be quite a disappointment over the STRV M40. But at least it looks like a tank. The tier 5, the STRV M42. Oh, this one looks very tall tank. So let's take the survivability as we always do. 55 millimeters at the front. For tier 5 it's not the best. 30 at the side and 20 at the rear, which is really bad. 450 hit points. Average, same as the Panzer IV really. Mobility, well, 22 tons, 22.7, 410 horsepower, 18.07 specific horsepower then. Same top speed, but it has a better reverse speed of 20 kilometers an hour and a very good reverse speed of 41 degrees a second, well, probably 42 or 43 when it's 100%. So that's fantastic there. Great mobility, as all so far. We take a look at that now. Again, the guns. 275 millimeters. So the first one is from the Lago, which is it's not going to be the best in the Lago, and it's definitely going to be pretty bad here on the STRV M42. So we already take a look at that. It has a bit of better dispersion and aiming time, but it's still not the best. And the upgraded one is a 75 millimeter. 9.5 rate of fire, which is a lot less. 115 millimeters of penetration, which is pretty good for tier 5, pretty good. 150 average damage for 75 is very good. So you get a very good damage every time you fire this gun. It's like a 17-pounder, really. It is, yeah. 0.38 dispersion, not the best, and 2.5 aiming time, which is pretty bad. So yeah, let's say it's a bit better than the Lago, but still not very good. Now the tier 6 is the STRV 74, and again it looks like a massive chaffy, really. And this tank did actually exist. In fact, let's just take a look at the history. In the early 1950s, the Centurion medium tank entered service in the Swedish army, yet a lighter and more maneuverable vehicle was required. It was decided to modernize the old STRV M42, this one, vehicles by equipping them with a new turret and armament. The tank received a new name, STRV-74. A total of 225 vehicles were manufactured from 1957 through 1960s. The Swedish army continued to use the vehicles until the end of 1984, which is a lot of time compared to there were M1 Abrams in T90s flying around. Not really, T80s, yeah, they were, but still, fuck. This thing could have no chance against Abrams. A Challenger 1 was also there, so yeah, Swedes were a bit off the time if we're honest. But anyways, let's take a look at the armor as we always do. Same armor as before because it's the same hull, so let's just not look at that. Mobility, 26 tons. This doesn't look the best. 340 horsepower, which is worse than before. Same top speed, but same old 18 kilometers an hour backward speed, which is pretty good, but still 20 is the best. 35.46 traverse speed. And these are the full stats because the crews are from tier 6 onwards 100%. But the specific power is only 12.98, so I suspect it's going to be really hard to put this thing up to its top speed of 45 kilometers an hour. It's not gonna be a very mobile Swedish tank if we're honest. But the thing that we need to tell you is this. It has 15 degrees of gun depression. Yes, 15 degrees. And I did forget to check out the other ones. So the tier 5 has 15 degrees as well. The tier 4 has 10 degrees. Well, at least that's what it's good at, the degrees. And the tier 3 also has 15 degrees. The tier 2, 15 degrees. Wow. Okay, so 15 degrees, most of them. It's not gonna be very good fighting against them, is it? So 15 degrees of gun depression and 15 degrees of elevation. 37.55 turret reverse speed. The real time is 4.4 seconds, which is not the best. 13.5 rate of fire. 1.73 aiming time, which is pretty good, and 0.32 accuracy, which is very good. Finally, we get good accuracy on these tanks, and 2000 damage per minute. Not bad for tier 6, not bad. And the gun is, well, we have two of them. We have this Evecon and the Con. So that's interesting. So the stock one has quite bad rate of fire, 120 penetration, which is better than tier 6, but only by 5 millimeters. Same damage. Decent dispersion, actually pretty good accuracy, and pretty good aiming time as well. And we have the upgraded one, which has very good penetration, better than the Cromwell, 148 penetration, 150 average damage, 0.33 accuracy, which is very good, and 1.8 aiming time, which is again very good. So yeah, at least this thing is very accurate, so you can use this thing as a very good sniper. Not very mobile though, so that's a problem. And it also doesn't have a good armor, so this is pretty much what it's gonna do, is snipe tanks. Now tier 7 is again not really my comfort zone. From tier 6 to tier 8, not really my comfort zone. But this is the Leo, which is an interesting name. Might look like a downsized version of the Leopard, but it did exist before. Well, it didn't really exist, but never, yeah, in the late 1940s, yeah. The Leopard was in the 1960s, but still, you know, it's a Leo. So the Leo, the survivability is 70 millimeters of full armor, which is actually pretty decent. I mean, slopes at that degree is pretty good. And 70 millimeters of frontal turret armor, which actually isn't the best since it's not very angled at all. And 30 millimeters at the side and 20 millimeters at the rear. Same for the turret and the hull. 1100 hit points. Let's just say it's alright. I mean, it's average. So yeah, that's mobility. 25 tons, quite light. 650 horsepower, which makes it a very good specific power of 25.48 horsepower per ton. Top speed of 60 km an hour and backwards goes 20. This is a very mobile tank. And as well as traverse speed of 40 degrees a second. Very good. The firepower, 0.4 dispersion. By the way, this thing uses 105 millimeter, so yeah. 0.4 dispersion, 2.88 aiming time. Both of those numbers are very bad. 10 degrees of gun depression, less than the tier 6, but it's still very good. 35.46 turret traverse speed, 9.7 reload time, which is, let's just say for 105 millimeter, decent amount. 6.18 rate of fire. Okay, but it does have lower damage per minute than the STR-V74. So yeah, not the best. Anyways, so the stock one is from the tier 5 tank. The upgraded one is from the STR-V74, the upgraded 75mm, and the fully upgraded, the Khan M34. That's a 105. Interesting how it says 10 centimeters with 100mm, but it's actually 105mm. It's interesting. 5.33 rate of fire, which is very bad. Put gun rammer on it, and you have, yes, 6.18. So yeah. But even with the gunner, you don't have the best average damage. 155 penetration, which is not really good. 300 average damage, which is very good for a tier 7 medium. 0.42 dispersion, bad, and 3 seconds of aiming time, also bad. Very good mobile tank, with a very big gun. but not accurate and not very good reloads. So yeah, but still, as before, a ridgeline tank with very good gun depression. Now the Mill 1. This is again those tanks, just like at the tank destroyer line, which was the USO3, the STRV 1030, and the STRV 103B. Again, a comfort zone at the tier 8 to tier 10, because these are the tanks that are the most important usually, and here are, as well as in the tank destroyer text tree, as well as here in the heavy tank text tree, because this is now a heavy tank, even though it's not that heavy. Because if we compare it, well, let's see how much tons does it have. Yeah. Like, so Panther has more, has 40 tons and is classified as a medium tank. This thing has 28.8 tons and it's a heavy tank. Okay, Sweden, you're not very good at naming your tanks, are you? Because look, if you compare it to a tank like WZ, it's not a very big tank, really. Compared to 121. Yeah. So compare it to something like, let's say, a 50B. It is a small tank. It's not a big tank at all. So yeah, 450 horsepower, which gives it 15.63 specific power, 50 kilometers an hour forward and 16 kilometers an hour backwards. Quite a bad reverse speed, but the top speed is very nice for a heavy tank. 31 degrees a second, which is not bad, but it could be better. The survivability, right, 100 millimeters of hull armor, which is decent for a heavy tank. I mean for an offloader, at least. 100 millimeters, 20 at the side and 30 at the rear, so yeah. Pretty much just point this thing forward to your enemy because it will automatically go for if you give it any sides. And the frontal turret hull armor is 180 millimeters. This thing is very well armored. At least at the front though. It's kind of like a 50B. A lot of armor at the front, but nothing at the side and rear. Now I am saying a lot of armor on the 50B. Yes, it only has 100 millimeters on the turret, but it does have 170 on the hull, which is a lot. But then it only has 30 millimeters at the side, which is horrible. But same thing with this. So I do suspect they're going to be played very similarly to the French heavy tanks. So that's the survivability, 1400 hit points, which is again the same as the 50B. 12 degrees to gun depression. Oh shite, yeah, you better watch your ass. Wow, okay, 36 seconds of reload. Okay. And it has, let's say, okay, interestingly. We're gonna go to the gun before. 20 degrees of turret reverse speed, which is quite bad. But still, you know, the tank has to have some weak spots. 3 seconds of aiming time, which is very bad. And 0.36 accuracy, it's not bad. It's pretty good, actually. Not bad, but it's not good. Damage per minute is 1,698, which is it's worse than tier 7. Tier 6 has more than that. Yeah, you don't expect doing a lot of damage in this tank. Ouch. Right. So the gun, it's 105 millimeter, the same as on the 5100, I believe. Does it have 105 or does it have 100? Because no, the yeah, although the 5100 has a 100 mil, and the average damage is 300. Yep. Okay. Still, 217 penetration, pretty good for a tier 8. Let's just say that. 4 shells in the magazine, less than the 50B by 2. 3 seconds the time between the shell, which is again less than 5100. Did I say less than 50B in the 4 shells? Whatever. I meant the 5100, yeah. 30 seconds of time of complete loading, which is, let's say it's alright. 320 average damage. Okay, it's normal. 0.38 dispersion. Not good, and 3.2 aiming time, very bad. Well, that's the standard. As we can see here, they are better stats. So, yeah. That's for the Emil 1. Quite similar to the 5100 if I'm honest. But it's a small tank, only 28 tons, it's a heavy tank. Now we go on to the Emil number 2, which is now looks a bit bigger. Still not very big. Let's see the survivability. 1700 hit points, 100 full armor, which is the same as before, but it does have a nice angle, kind of like an IS-8, or well, now it's called T10 for quite a while. 60mm side armor, which is a bit more, well, double times more than the previously, and it's 30mm of full armor at the rear. The turret armor gets a lot of armor, 215mm. Some tanks of the tier don't even have much penetration, but the turret is angled, so fuck that. 60mm side and 30 at the rear, same. So yeah. As the survivability, the mobility, it has 37.7 tons. Yeah, now you could actually call it a heavy tank, because it has 10 tons more than the Emil number 1. 665 horsepower, that gives it a horsepower per ton by 17.65, and top speed of 56 kilometers an hour, which is very good, and 18 kilometers an hour backwards, which is also a decent amount. 32 degrees of traverse speed, not bad. Now nobody cares about concealment and the spotting, that's why I'm not mentioning them. So yeah. Now the firepower. The degrees, again, it has more gun depression than the elevation. 12 degrees of gun depression and only 8 degrees of elevation. So when you're above this tank, it is a lot like that he's not gonna be able to shoot at you. So that's its weak spot. That's definitely its weak spot. Yeah. You better ask your you better watch your asses. Emil 2 drivers. It has 0.36 explosion, which again, but it has 2000 average damage per minute, which is a decent amount now. So yeah, but what it actually matters is the stats that it has, say here. And it's 120mm, it's a bigger gun. 4 shells in the magazine, same as before. 3 seconds the time between loading of one shell, which is between the shells, which is the same as before. 40 seconds of complete loading, which is, well, it's pretty slow. I'm pretty sure the 5120 can do faster than that. In fact, we're just gonna check that. Yep, 35 seconds. 5 seconds faster. Yeah, pretty slow. 252 penetration, which is very good. For tier 9, 400 damage. 0.38 accuracy and 2.8 aiming time, which is very bad. That's the Emil 2. Better armor, but the gun handling are very similar to the Emil 1 with better damage and by 400 more damage per minute. Now for the tier 10, the mighty beast, the Kranvagn. Oh no, boy, this is a massive beast. So the survivability, it has 2000 hit points. Full armor is 110mm, which is not the best for a tier 10, but the turret armor is 225mm. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be easy to pan that. But then again, if I check closely, if you would be in a Death Star and shoot it here, which is a bit unangled, maybe you could actually go through it. But that's a bit of a risky move, so I do not know. Or maybe if we shoot it here, right in the gun mantlet, maybe if it go through. You never know. Maybe I didn't try it. Okay. The mobility, 45 tons, which is again now you could actually name it a heavy tank. 900 horsepower, 20 horsepower per ton, which is pretty good for a heavy tank. 60 kilometers an hour forward and 18 kilometers an hour backwards, and 32 degrees of traverse speed, which is the same as before. The firepower has 12 degrees of gun depression and 10 degrees of elevation, 2 more than before. Wow. The damage per minute, however, is 2,737 damage per minute. That is fantastic. So yeah, 120mm, same as before. 4 shells in the magazine, 2.75 time of loading one shell, 28 seconds of complete loading, which is 2 seconds faster than the 50B. But it does have less penetration. 252, same as before on the tier 9. Same damage, 0.36 accuracy, which is not the best, and the aiming time is actually pretty not good. 2.5 seconds. In fact, let me just check the 50B accuracy, or the aiming time. Actually, no, it's actually pretty good. It's just the dispersion is better on the 50B. Same aiming time. Let's say 2.5 seconds is, let's say, okay for a tier 10. I think that's 3 seconds or more. It's very, very slow. Now what I've done here is I've taken the 50B and the Kranvagn, which in my opinion, judging by the stats, are very similar tanks. And for you, for those of you who might wonder, is which one is it better to pick? Honestly, I don't know, because I haven't played the Kranvagn, only played the 50B. In fact, I own it. Played a decent amount of games on it. And yeah, don't know anything about the Kranvagn, just judging by the stats. So what I've done is prepare a little bit of comparison between the two. So there's the 50B on the right and the Kranvagn on the left. So let's just see first. The firepower statistically is better for the 50B. Same damage per minute. Actually, standard shell damage is the same. But the penetration is better by 6. So yeah, 6 millimeters. In fact, we can check. I think it has 252, and the 50B has 258, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's 57. Okay, so it's 5 more. Right. So 5 more penetration, which is still, you know, penetration is penetration. Rate of fire is actually better than the Kranvagn. The turret traverse speed is much better on the 50B by 11.5 degrees. That much. The gun depression is a lot better on the Kranvagn by 12 degrees, but only 8 degrees on the 50B. But the elevation is better on the 50B because it has 12 degrees, but the Kranvagn only 10 degrees. 50B is already quite vulnerable when it comes to elevation, but the Kranvagn is going to be even more. The loading time is again better on the Kranvagn, well, at least the reload. It reloads in 27.4 seconds, meanwhile the 50B reloads in 29.16, which is about 1.7, 1.8 seconds, 1.75 seconds better on the Kranvagn, but the shell reload time, the reload time between the shells is slower on the Kranvagn, 2.75 compared to the 50B's 2.5. So yeah, the aiming time is the same, 2.4 on both, but the dispersion is a bit better on the 50B by 0.34. Average damage per minute is better on the Kranvagn, but not by much. So the firepower statistically it says that it is better than the 50B. The survivability, however, the Kranvagn, this is where it comes to its own. Hit points wise, well, it's still worse. 50B has 100 more. Full armor is better than the 50B by 170 millimeters, but the Kranvagn has 110 millimeters. But the turret armor is very shit on the 50B, but very good on the Kranvagn because it has 225 millimeters. We already know these stats. The mobility, right? So the 50B weighs a lot more, but it also has a lot more horsepower by 1200. But it also has a much better suspension because as you can see here, it only can load about about 3 tons of equipment on it. Meanwhile, on the 50B, you could load more than 5 tons of equipment, which means that the suspension is a bit easier to move. Or at least I would say it goes through the ground a lot better than it does when it's fully loaded. Engine power, as I already said, 1200 horsepower, better than the 50B obviously, but it is a lot heavier still. It's why the specific power is better than the Kranvagn. So yeah, on the Kranvagn. The speed better on the 50B. Sadly, not really. 50B is fantastic. I love it. 50B has better top speed as well as better reverse speed. The mobility is obviously statistically better on the 50B. The traverse speed again is a lot better on the 50B as well or having 37.55. So the Kranvagn, I wouldn't say it is the most mobile tank in the game. Switching to siege mode and switching to travel mode, these things don't add to the 50Bs and these autoloaders. The concealment, nobody really cares about these stats, but just for those of you who actually... Hold on. For those of you who want to know, I had to pause the video there a bit. The spotting, you can want to know, because the 50B is better at the concealment, even though it is a bit taller than Kranvagn. So the concealment of the stationary vehicle is 5.3 on the Kranvagn, which is better on the AIM-50B. But when it fires, it is worse on the 50B than it is on the Kranvagn. But during the moving, concealment is fairly better on the 50B than the Kranvagn, so you expect when you're moving to get spotted a lot faster in the Kranvagn than you would in the 50B. Spotting mechanics, 50B has a better view range, but the signal range is better on the Kranvagn, but nobody cares about the signal range, do they? So yeah. So which one is good, better? I do not know. They're both very similar to each other. But I really like my 50B. So that's it for this video, because my hard drive is going to be pretty full by any time now. And this video is going to take quite a long time now as well. So thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed this video. This was my introduction of the Swedish light tanks, medium tanks and heavy tanks. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.
I never did belong. Tomorrow I'll be gone, don't cry. Mama, don't cry.